Hello, hello, and welcome back to the GeForce SC2 Pro-Am. I'm Day9.
And I am H to the Husky.
And you're probably noticing a little bit of Korean on the screen. I can't believe. Who could we possibly be seeing play? Well, I'll tell you what, Husky. In the left position, we have none other than Slayer's BoxeR as the blue Terran. And in the south position, we have TSL Killer, two top Koreans, duking it out, two big names. And that is, of course, why you cannot recognize either of their names.
Yeah, and of course I have to do the kind of standard talking about BoxeR really quick. If you guys are not familiar with him, well, he's been one of the best players of all time in StarCraft, and I would say probably the most popular StarCraft player ever. So one thing that I hate was when people tell me, hey, you should like this guy because he used to be cool. The cool thing about BoxeR is that he has consistently been cool, Sean, and we have seen that in the most recent games that we cast together with him in it. I mean, he is just known for crazy building positioning, early rushes, and things like that, and we saw just that in that last series, so I would say he's still got it.
Yeah, and the one thing to note about BoxeR that is just the reason why he's so well known is that he is a problem solver in StarCraft 2. When weird issues arise and people are having trouble cracking the matchup, BoxeR will go home, practice relentlessly, and emerge with a brilliant response. His one weakness is that he's always had a little bit of trouble with refinement. There's always sometimes a couple of bumps and glitches in terms of macro. Might end up misjudging when he should engage in a battle or not, but when he's in that battle, his micro is top-notch and his pre-prepared strategies are always the best.
Yes, and that is why he is super entertaining to watch. Now, he is known for his Zerg matchup, but of course, Sean, he's going against a Protoss opponent today, and the map is going to be Metalopolis here. They do have those close spawn positions, so always dangerous by air for both players. I mean, Terran can use their Banshee, try and use cloak play and things like that, but the Protoss can also use Void Rays, not as common, as a lot of times if they do use Void Rays in this matchup, it'll be to try and bust any sort of entrance, which right now there is one supply depot there. Don't know if BoxeR is going to follow that up with, but Sean, right now he is following it up with a second barracks as well as a reactor. What does this tell you about what he is opening with?
I just love this opening that BoxeR is doing. The big key about it, building that barracks before the second supply depot, and there it is. The way that you can get away with this is because the reactor takes such a long time to build. And he's going to be doing a pretty standard by-the-book 2 barracks pressure. TSL Killer is a little bit more of your traditional player. I've seen him use quite a few Immortals in the early game as a little bit of a fun mix, but of course we're seeing most of the Protoss transition away from that Robo-Reliance and onto the Gateway mix. So we'll see if TSL Killer ends up doing something along those lines. We do see the Tech Lab now en route for Slayer's BoxeR, so I would bet you dollars to donuts, or I guess just because I watch a lot of StarCraft, he'll be pushing out with 5 Marines and a Marauder right when the concussive shell's wrapping up.
And right now, Killer is going to be squeezing out that first sentry. Always a good choice, especially if he knows that there is some sort of early pressure. I'm looking at the view of Killer. He hasn't seen, I believe, the second barracks, but, I mean, maybe he just knows. Very common for players to do that. And getting out that first sentry is extremely good for holding off, especially Terran rushes, because it does take those units a while to get all the way down there. And by the time they get there, you can either cut them in half or prevent them from getting up the ramp, which usually buys you just enough time to get out your warp gates and get those reinforcements that you need, which, Sean, it does look like he's moving out with some Marines right now, and look at that, one Marauder following suit.
Ha! The standard way to play this off. We also see the early expand going down for BoxeR. He's continuing the Marine production once again. Just now has enough gas to get the stim. This is why people like this 2 racks opening. It almost times itself. But in the meantime, we see TSL Killer doing an extremely safe opening. We see him opting to get the fast robotics facility. His warp gate is almost done there. He's now morphing them up. Gotta be really careful if you're in BoxeR's position. That leading SCV, so critical. And oh my god, it actually gets in the main. That actually shouldn't happen. You generally use the SCV just to do spotting for your Marine Marauder pack, but instead, getting the big vision gain. And given the fact that TSL Killer has essentially just sentries at this point, I would anticipate a faster Immortal in this mix. He's getting an Observer right now, but an Immortal following up would make most sense to me in this position.
I really like how BoxeR played that one out, Sean. His units only took one unit in there, just took a tiny bit of damage, and he did lose the SCV, but guess what? He saw exactly what was on the way. He saw the 2 gateways as well as the robotics, so now he's going to know, well, there's probably going to be an observer, potential for an immortal following that up, and that's going to make him feel pretty good. You can see he's throwing down his bunker at his natural, and his natural is up and running while the Protoss has just started constructing his.
And I think this is also a wise response from Terran. There's the Immortal popping out right now. Sentry Immortal eats Marine Marauder packs alive in the early games, but drops are a huge problem for any player going Robotech. You'd think that that is not the case, as they can get the Observers out, but they just don't really have that many ground units, so they're pinned back to their base to do defense. So I love the fact that BoxeR is actually going for this really fast starport. Often it's a mistake to get this fast of a starport if your opponent is going gateway heavy. They can actually just attack your front and kill you outright. But BoxeR, of course, known for being a total genius, following up his early pressure with Ballertude.
Is getting a reactor on that factory as well there, and the expansion just going to be finishing up right now for the Protoss player. Neither player is going to be in a horrible spot, but it's going to come down to what can Killer follow this up with. Sean, do you like that he's following it up with the robotics bay right now for that Colossus tech, or is there going to be a potential for Vikings?
Well, it looks like we do see the cancel and immediate transition into the Stargate. That's always a little bit raffalicious. But I honestly think that it's okay to get a Robo when you're in that, or Robo Bay in that position, because hell, if you went for a really fast robotics facility, you may as well use that robotics facility for your defense. But I think TSL Killer hitting the same analysis that we're hitting. If you go for that Colossus, you are essentially pinned back in your base, so it's going to be a fast Stargate to get some Phoenixes, the very modern Korean response to big dropship play. If you can get the Phoenixes and lock it down, even though it might seem a little bit late, keep in mind that Terran's low on barracks. So we're now seeing a big pullback from the Protoss to Gateway, getting that third Gateway up, and I'd anticipate an early third from the Protoss as another follow-up response. He gets the air control with the Phoenixes, he knows the army ain't that big, so he can safely take a third.
The factory was attempting there to scout anything, but it does make it home safely, just a couple of HP away from that dangerous red zone to burn down. And that's something that Terran players tend to do quite often, because really, you're not going to be using that factory with the build that BoxeR's going at all. You're not really going to want Hellions. Siege Tank's not going to be an option because you're spending so much gas on all of those medevacs. And looking at the unit stab, there are 2 medevacs on the field with 2 more additional medevacs right now. There is going to be a drop over here. Looks like it was going to get intercepted. Did not lose those medevacs, though.
Great reaction timing there by BoxeR, now producing the medevacs 2 at a time. How will he follow this up? Because this is definitely a bit of a touchy position for a Terran player when you go for this big medevac play, and now all of a sudden we see Phoenixes popping out by the Plenitude out in the back. There's the Twilight Council, the Forge going up. Looks like the Protoss doing another very reasonable response, going for big numbers of upgrades, because the drops might kill off buildings and probes, but really can't slow down the upgrades if you position them in nice locations. And look at this. It looks like BoxeR's doing the same technique we saw Slayer's Teja do last week. It's going to be the double-double. There's the medevac on the right, and then 2 medevacs at the left. The double-double drop, but a Phoenix intercepts.
That drop on the left side is going to have to return home. It looks like BoxeR's unloading his units rather than trying to drop them directly in the mineral line. That stim pack is done, which means he can just stim and run into that mineral line. We'll see if the Protoss will be in position to deal with it. Again, it's always so crucial in any matchup to try and figure out where to put your units. And the 2 Phoenix here, now a 3rd Phoenix on the way, which may explain why his supply is a little bit behind his opponent, just because he kind of is getting these delayed Phoenix out, and he needs to get them in pretty heavy numbers. I can't imagine him doing too much with just 3 Phoenix, and just needs to make sure to lock that down. Sean, I really like, though, how he's trying to deal with these drops by having the Phoenix, although he does not know about the drop on the right side, which Phoenix are not going to help with.
We see that upgrade at the Forge just now hitting 104 seconds complete. It needs to get to 160, so there's a little bit more time until that plus upgrade can kick in a very weird spot that we're running into now as we hit the 12-minute and 30-second mark. BoxeR taking his third, but positioning all his units offensively, keeping the Marines and Marauders by the third, so that way he can stim and kill off an expansion attempt, but most importantly, stim and run should units end up swinging in. And here's the big, meaty army from TSL Killer, the stim and run from BoxeR. This is still a great technique that BoxeR is using. It is keeping these units from Killer always on defense mode.
More gateways going down for Killer right now, and he has not set up his 3rd base at all. You mentioned that BoxeR's 3rd is on the way. It is now about halfway complete up there, and this is definitely an interesting situation here because BoxeR, Sean, he has a lot of Vikings right now. There's really no Colossus on the field. He's continuing producing 2 Vikings at a time. Now, something that a lot of Terran players don't do is you can drop the mineral line. He will be using them for the Phoenix as well. But do you think that this is too many Vikings for the amount of Phoenix that are in play, or do you think that this is the right response?
This is actually a tough call because we have seen that when the Terran player goes only medevac, completely ignores the Phoenixes, that the Phoenixes can swim through the main, pick off any medevacs that are popping out of the starports. If you hit a bad EMP and miss the Phoenixes, then you can be in a lot of trouble. I think perhaps getting these Vikings might be the key. A lot of players just try to avoid the Vikings entirely. But this is a good way to force the dropships to work. And if you think about it, if you're up against a Colossus player, you get that many Vikings anyways. The Colossus are going to do big amounts of damage, and you're expecting your smaller Marine Marauder force to clean up the remaining ground forces. Here, with the number of Phoenixes that we have out on the field, I mean, each pair of Phoenixes you can think of is 1 Colossus. So resource-wise, the investment is essentially identical to 3 Colossus for TSL Killer right now. So I suppose that this number of Vikings is justified in that regard too.
Yeah, I think you're right, Sean. It's something that a lot of Terran players aren't doing, but we'll see if it is going to work out this one. We do have Psystorm on the way, and the Protoss is getting those double upgrades. His 1 armor is done. 2nd armor is about halfway completed there, and he is definitely going extremely heavy tech. I mean, look at this. He's got Psystorms, High Templar, upgrades, and Colossus tech now going down right here. So that may explain why his supply is definitely lower, but the longer that the Protoss player is able to sit back on this, that's when they start to get powerful. I think BoxeR knows it is moving out right now.
Yeah, this is a key time for BoxeR pushing out. I kind of like that note that we see the Protoss going Immortal Colossus Phoenix Templar upgrade. It's kind of a little bit gas heavy, I guess you'd call it, but if it gets going, so potent. But we're seeing BoxeR move out at just the right time. And look at how many Marines he has. Actually, an incredible number of Marines. Not favoring the Marauder-only style that we were seeing in the early days. Getting a lot more of those Marines, freeing up gas for those Ghosts. And look at the Ghost count. He's up at 8. Huge numbers of Ghosts. There's the stim. We're going to see a rain of EMPs. Oh, obliterating everything. And the Phoenixes try to roll in. The Vikings going to be able to take them out, but BoxeR looks like he's feeling a little bit overpowered, pulling back, making use of those force fields. The Vikings annihilate all the Phoenixes, and suddenly drops are going to be potent again, but I don't even know if it's going to get to that moment, Husky. We see these Marine Marauders decimating this force.
Wow, absolutely one-sided there, Sean. And I didn't see it. Was he able to EMP those High Templar? Because he went straight into making them into Archons. So I'm not sure if that was the right choice there, but it definitely is looking to favor BoxeR.
Wow.
Splitting up his units, able to heal them very quickly there, and that just shows you the timing of it. I think BoxeR kind of caught wind of what was going on, that there were so many upgrades. I mean, it was literally, like we mentioned, just every tech in the book going down for once. And I mean, if you look at the upgrade for the Protoss player here at the end, the +1 attack was 10 in-game seconds away from being completed. He had +2 armor completed, +3 already started. So it looks like he was gearing himself up for kind of one of those no-rush 20-minute scenarios. Unfortunately, when you're going against BoxeR, he's always going to rush you.
One of my favorite concepts to plug all the time is that the bigger variety of stuff you get, the smaller your overall army size becomes. We saw BoxeR going for that lean and mean mix of Marine Marauder, medevac with a couple of Ghosts. Very simple to get. It's only barracks and starports with reactor. But then if you think about the Protoss army, I mean, getting upgrades, Phoenixes, Immortals, Colossi, and then trying to take the 3rd. All this variety and going in all these different directions from Protoss resulted in him having a little bit of a weaker army in the early game. And just as you said, Husky, if he got to that end game, it would have been so strong, but BoxeR never going to let that happen. Great strategy preparation. Love the Marine heaviness. Husky, I say we go into game 2.
Yeah, one thing I want to say really quick, Sean, I was watching it, and I didn't catch it the first time. Maybe you did, but right before the Psystorms went off, it was like down to the 2nd, they did get EMP'd, which forced those Archons, which makes that army so much weaker. So great control there, and I also loved how he was backing up consistently. So Killer going to have to try something a little bit different, I would say, here in game number 2. So let's go ahead and do it, Sean, and we will see you guys next time in game number 2.